need a high-end designer or a lot of money to get a luxe look. Be your own interior designer.
This is Affordable Interior Design, the podcast.
Here's your host, Betsy Helmuth.
Hello there. I hope you are having a great kickoff to your summer. We only have 2 more weeks of school left here. My kids are clamoring to get the summer started. I am chugging along. When you're an entrepreneur, sometimes it doesn't always feel so cyclical. Sometimes you have to sort of ride the waves of your children or your spouse who may have a more regular job, but I'm just floating along. Last year I felt like I was really waiting for things in general, that everything was kind of pending because we were packing at this time. We had just sold our house. We were planning to move out in July. We knew we'd be vagabonds for a month or so and then move into our new house. So we didn't really make summer plans. We didn't really have a lot to look forward to or things that were carved out because we didn't even know where we were going to move yet. So we were nervous, in limbo, questioning everything. And I thought that when we found the house I guess we found the house in June, July. When we found the house, I thought, okay, now we just have to get in the house and then we'll be settled. And next summer will be our summer of fun. Will be our summer to plan. And then we got another monkey wrench with the monkey that is gestating inside me. And so again, we're not making plans. Again, everything's on hold. And again, we're just living day to day, which, things could change at any moment for anyone, but that's what our summer's looking like so far. I hope you have a more exciting couple months ahead. Well, I guess mine will be exciting, but in a different way. All right. Well, we have questions waiting in the mailbag. I know you're eagerly wanting your questions to get answered. If you have questions for me before you leave on vacation, or maybe about an Airbnb rental or just anything that's on your mind, feel free to send them my way. Go to affordableinteriordesign.com/podcast. Once again, that's affordableinteriordesign.com/podcast. There you'll see a little button to submit a form that you can share your questions, share pictures. If you want to see the pictures that I'm referring to rather than just relying on my descriptions, you can head over to our YouTube channel, which is Affordable Interior Design by Uploft, YouTube channel, and you can see me answering these questions. You can see the pictures, you can get more visual information and be more a part of the show. All right, well, let's dig into this mailbag because I have a piping hot question coming at you. The first one comes all the way from Manitoba, Canada, from Andrea. Andrea writes, "Hi, Betsy. I've been enjoying your podcast since its inception. Yours was the first interiors podcast I started listening to, and I'm still happy every time I've seen that you've dropped a new episode. Thank you so much for making beautiful spaces accessible for everyone, no matter our budget." Now to my question. I live in a 2008 bi-level with my husband and 3 teenage sons. The interior architecture is contemporary and relatively plain. I would say that our style is clean, transitional. Is clean a feeling word? My individual inclination would be cozy Scandi, but there are 2 of us with opinions. My question has to do with the hallway that connects the main living, dining, kitchen spaces to the bedrooms and bathroom on the main floor. It was previously just a white hall with 2 basic flush mounts for lighting. At the beginning of the pandemic, I spontaneously painted the end wall blue, our red tread, and we added a small shelf at the top for display. In real life, the hallway isn't as long as it looks in pictures. The unexpected pop of color and fun art makes me smile, but it is pretty random with the rest of the hall being white and the bland fixtures. I'm not sure that the 2 pictures work in the hallway, or maybe not even the shelf because it's too high. The challenge is that there's a light switch in the middle of the wall that we use, so we can't cover it. And we can't bring the shelf lower because it's resting on the top of door frames on the 2 sides of the bedrooms, and there's only about 4 inches between the end of the door opening and the wall. Do you have any ideas for this hallway that it would make it interesting and still have it blend with what's happening in the rest of the house? I've attached pictures of the hall, the dining area, the living room. I've judiciously cropped so you can only see snippets of our family mess for context. Thank you so much. Well, with 3 teenage sons, I imagine you would have some mess. I have 2 tween age kids, and they make a mess. And thinking about adding a third to the mix is daunting. I'm already thinking about storage solutions, things that we don't currently need that I can foresee because I can just imagine the mess. So don't worry, guys. I can always overlook that. You're making memories happen, Andrea. All right, so let's look here. So, yes, you have this random, well, to me, it feels a little random, blue wall at the end of this hallway that is really basic. It's not very wide. It does have some pretty plain light fixtures. And so the blue to me does feel very out of place. It is quite strange to have that light switch right in the middle of the hall. I do agree that having it on that wall as you're looking down the hallway as something you use every day is just a real impediment to having something cooler there. I also don't always love a random shelf up high because of feng shui, because even though this isn't where anybody would walk because it's at the very end of the hallway, it makes it appear as though these things could fall. The shelf does seem to be fairly shallow. So it's just got me worried, right? And I would say that you could paint or wallpaper this entire hallway, but I'm really glad that you gave me the context of seeing the living room as well as the kitchen and the hallway because you can see that these areas really flow into each other. If the hallway was more separated with, say, an arch or something like that, I think it would be fun and playful to treat it differently with wallpaper or a different color, but you would do it throughout rather than what you have now, which is a quote unquote accident wall, right? You're thinking of it as an accent wall, but it looks more like an accident. It looks like you ran out of paint or just haven't gotten around to finishing the other 2 sides of the hallway. And I think if you continued it all the way down the hall, it would meet this living room kitchen area in a way that doesn't flow and just an arbitrary, this wall's blue, this wall's gray. And we would run into that same issue of it feeling like you ran out of paint. My suggestion would be, in order to give the end of the hall visual interest without having to move the light switch, that you would turn that entire wall, and it's not too big, it's probably less than 3 feet wide and about 8 feet high. You would turn that entire piece of wall into a gallery wall. So you'd have organic configuration of pictures that would go from ceiling to floor and side to side, and it would not be symmetrical. You could have all the same color frames, like you've got started here with the black, but with colorful photos inside. I do think that the hallway could use a little bit of color, so I like the idea of the color photos. But you could just incorporate the light switch as one of the rectangular or square sort of shapes in that gallery wall. I think that would be a really cool, eye-catching way to make this wall more interesting. I would paint the wall the color the rest of the hallway. And then I would consider doing a runner down the hallway that has some colors that are found both in the living room and in the pictures at the end of the hallway. That'll kind of tie the two spaces, together. And these light fixtures are pretty boring. They look like Home Depot or IKEA specials. So I would definitely be inclined to switch out those 2 fixtures for something a little bit more interesting. But I wouldn't want to do anything that drops too much because you don't have higher than normal ceilings. It doesn't appear. So I would still keep it a flush mount, not even a semi-flush, certainly no kind of pendant or chandelier, but have 2 modest but more interesting light fixtures, a hallway runner that goes the entire length of the hallway with some color, and then some pictures at the end of the hallway that are beautifully organically arranged so that they do cover a lot of that wall, right? So that it feels really purposeful and it feels like the wall is actually the boundary of the gallery area. Andrea, that's going to solve all your problems. Isn't that exciting? And I think the rest of your home is on its way. So there you go. That's really my solve for this space. Let's move to my next question. My next question for today comes from Ranae. Ranae is writing to us from Atlanta. She writes, "Hi, Betsy. Congratulations and best wishes for your new baby. It's been about a year, but I wanted to say big thanks for recommending that we paint our bathroom vanity taupe. It's been hard to capture on a phone picture, but it's so perfect, and I would have never thought of taupe. We did go a different direction for the wall color, and I really love that too. It took a while to find a green to match the funky 70s floor, but now the room doesn't look so much like an accident. I think you also recommended build.com somewhere, and it turns out that that was the only place that had a straight chrome shower rod that's not a tension rod in stock. Thanks, thanks, thanks. I've been living in the bathroom, potty training my son, and it's not so bad. Ranae." Well, Ranae, I'm glad to hear that it's not so bad because I'm having all these flashbacks to having children that needed to be potty trained. And it was 8 to 10 years ago that I had that situation. And I remember that my daughter was ready to be potty trained mentally, physically. She was about 2.5, but she refused because she loved the time on the changing table. She loved getting the attention. She loved talking and making us stop whatever we were doing to go attend to her needs, put her on the changing table, coo over her, tickle her, change her outfit. She just loved the special time, especially since it was time away from her brother, that it was just focused 100% on her. That was challenging because we needed to move on. We had just moved to a new house. We were super overwhelmed. And so we bribed her with what we called a potty poster. So I can't remember who it was, but I named my daughter Eden after East of Eden, which is one of my favorite books. And so I named her Eden after that book. And somebody I feel like somebody gifted us this poster, but maybe I found it. Anyway, in French, it was the original French movie poster of this movie that was featuring James Dean. And so I told Eden that she would get a potty poster if she potty trained, and we would hang it above the toilet in the bathroom, and it had her name prominently plastered on it because even in French, you got L'Est des Dents. So she could see her name right there. And it was in bright colors that were pink and blue. So even though she had no idea about the movie, she's a little too young for that. Or, of course, the book, that was not her nightly bedtime story, guys. It's not for children. But it really incentivized her, and she was potty trained days later. And we took the picture to Michael's, had it framed, and it was above our toilet until we moved to Connecticut, and now it's in our guest room. So there we go. It's forever called the potty poster. Anyway, Ranae, thank you so much for sending me these pictures and letting me know what happened. I love to get updates. I love to see what's been going on. I think you picked a lovely shade of light mint green for your bathroom. Now, you guys know if you've read my book or listened to the podcast or seen me on the Today Show that I don't love the color green in any room where you see a lot of skin, whether it's a bedroom or a bathroom, because it can cast like a sickly pallor on your face, making you look relatively unwell. It's just not as flattering as, say, something warm like a cream or a peach or something that would really add a glow to your skin tone. But I think here it's light enough that it's really not going to be too much of a problem. I'm really excited that you changed out those wall sconces that had the round Hollywood lights because I think you've really updated this bathroom on a budget. I love that you've changed out those old ceramic knobs for some clean handles. Everything is looking great, Ranae. I give you 2 thumbs up for your Atlanta bathroom because even though it has a lot of the old remnants, say the old vanity cabinet, this 3-inch square tile, these things that make us feel like wait, this bathroom could use an update. You've done these cosmetic updates in such a way that I think it really freshens it until you're ready to splurge and do a gut reno on this thing. Guys, the mailbag is officially empty now. I'd love to keep talking, keep solving your problems, but this is going to be a short episode because I don't have any more questions from you guys. So please send them in. It's so easy, and I'll talk about almost whatever you want. affordableinteriordesign.com/podcast. And while I have a minute, let me remind you that I'm working on this really big next creative project. I'm giving it a ton of attention before I have to give somebody else a ton of attention in September. So before my baby arrives, I'm really jumping into 2 feet to this new book that I'm writing, which is kind of my interior design diaries. I'm kind of opening up all my actual diaries that have been locked away in a safe. I have never, ever opened a diary and read it, and I've been keeping one since I was 7. So I literally opened the safe and have cut the locks off of, because I can't remember the old passwords. Excuse me, indigestion, baby indigestion. The reflux, it's just, yeah, it's real. Anyway, I've cut the locks off. I've enrolled in this workshop that's focused on writing personal essays, and I am cranking out these chapters week after week, but I don't have a clear complete outline for the book. There are missing chapters, missing content. There's plenty of more that I could illuminate and talk to you about. So if there's something about my journey that you'd like to hear more about, if there's something that you feel would help your personal journey, like Betsy, how did you go from having an idea to starting a business? Betsy, what did it look like to hire your first employee, to go from a solopreneur, then to take the leap and have another designer on your team? If any of these questions are interesting to you, or there's something that I sort of talked about in an episode and you're like, I wish you'd tell me more about that, well, you just write me. You can, of course, always submit it as a question in the forms, but I'd rather you email me personally. So it's Betsy, Betsy, at affordableinteriordesign.com. Once again, that's Betsy at affordableinteriordesign.com. Give me your ideas. Tell me about what you'd like to hear about, and I'll make sure to try and fit it in the book proposal. Well, guys, it's been great to be back with you. Go enjoy some outside time. I know I plan on it because when I'm not in my cottage recording, I have a little table outside. And yes, I get Wi-Fi outside my cottage. It's amazing. And I sit there in the sunshine with my seltzer water to, tamp down the flames of the reflux. And I just work and email in plein air. It's amazing. All right, everyone. I hope you're enjoying some air, and I will be talking to you on the air next week. Until then, bye. A big thank you to Aton and the Embassy, who wrote our theme song. A shout out to Catherine Heller, who owns the podcast shop and is our editor extraordinaire. We also want to thank Ginny Sunasan and her team at the Savvy Podcast Agency for their help with our social, our YouTube channel, and so much more. We also want to thank Uploft, which is our parent company who supports this podcast. And lastly, we owe a huge debt of gratitude to you. Thank you so much for tuning in and for all your support.